Okay, hopefully you all hear me. Okay, webcam audio. Okay. Hello. Hi, it's me, Sophie, and today is the live stream of Saturday, the 6th of March. Wow, we're already pretty much... I didn't think 2021 would be going by that fast, but so it is. Yeah, last week I wasn't able to do the live stream because the live stream that I do for my patrons, because my cat got sick, and that was a real bummer. He kept vomiting and I really didn't know what was going on, so I had to cancel last week's live stream. But last week we were going to work on what's below me. Sorry, I'm sharpening a new pencil that I just bought. I'll tell you guys about it. It's the one everyone talks about for sketching. It's like the Prismacolor Colorase. Supposedly it gives good depth because it's red and it's easy to take away in Photoshop if you're ever sketching and you're going to do line work over it. It's just really easy to delete if you're using your physical traditional to sketch and then uploading it to a digital device. I'm trying to use like all-encompassing words, but so I'm going to use this today to sketch. Can you see it? Can you see what I see? Maybe not. Ah, there we go. So yeah, it's the Prismacolor Colorase. It's brand new. I just bought it because I was really hyped, and it has a little eraser on the back, which is lovely. We're gonna be fixing all sorts of mistakes. So I decided today we were gonna do the sketch below, and it is of a cat that a cat and a girl. So basically, I saw this outfit on Pinterest, and I thought, this is gorgeous. This like kind of ornate fabric with the pattern. So it has a pattern on it. Maybe I'll zoom in. So it has a bit of a pattern on it. It's got this rich red color. And to be honest, I think it would look amazing on a kind of like a muted green background because, well, so I'm thinking of color theory, and basically if you're using complementary colors, the method is to use something that is a bit muted against something bright. So because the red here is muted and she's holding a doll, okay, I didn't realize that, then you can use sort of a brighter green across from it. But this is just sort of a bit of a muted scheme. I don't mind. I could probably end up using some blue up top and some green on the bottom for like a grass, but not to at all line it because the background is so... Backgrounds are blurrier. Anyways, I feel like I'm talking a lot and not enough drawing. So we're just gonna start with it. I kind of explained why I like this, and then I just picked this little guy because we're gonna combine them. We're gonna combine the dress and we're gonna combine the face. I know, we're gonna do amazing science experiments today. What is it? Scientists hate her, housewives love her, or something. I don't know. Anyways, everyone knows what ads I'm talking about. So, I'm gonna start the sketch, and we're gonna be starting on the, basically I like to start on the body first. So, I'm going to move, because I got a little bit of a screen capture going on. No worries. And we're gonna just make this a little bigger. All I want to do is kind of make it look more understandable, something that is easier to draw, I guess, even though the screen is pretty small. And I could definitely make it bigger, but for now, we're just gonna go with sketching it out. Oh, and you can kind of see the red here. So all I'm doing right now is marking out the kind of the corners of where my camera is so that I don't end up drawing off the screen. And yeah, so this is gonna be really interesting. So we have our character and she is looking to the side. Okay, she's looking to the side, and what else is going on with her? Okay, she's got this amazing poof. So what I'm seeing is that there's a bit of like a circle here, and then there's a bit of like an oval that comes down with her. So that's kind of her skirt. And she's not really positioned like straight forward. She's kind of positioned on a bit of an angle herself, like her body. That's the line of action, and then her face is kind of tilted. So it's like as though it's kind of like yeah, it kind of looks like a bent straw, I guess, if you're looking at her. And then she has this sleeve. Oh my goodness. So maybe because there's so much going on, it would just be more logical to go for a torso. I think that using the reference as a torso, kind of like this, would be more engaging than the far away. So anytime you have a reference where you kind of want to go in on the face, maybe a bit more than the body, I think this is something that I like. In the beginning, I used to be like, oh, I have to draw the entire person, but that's not really necessarily true. You can make it look different. Okay, so enough zooming out, zooming in. I'm going to completely erase this. I used color erase, so hopefully it should erase. Oh, and it did erase. Wow. So they weren't lying about this one. They definitely weren't lying. Huh. Usually when I use colored pencil, it's not the same, so. Okay, so we're gonna do a torso. Let's see. I'm gonna make the face a bit bigger. Her face is still gonna be at a bit of a like angle to where her body is. I would say she has her action here with the shoulder. The poofy sleeve comes down with the other sleeve here. We have our bust, and then we have our kind of comes out, and then we also have our other sleeve. We have some epic sleevage going on, and we also have some hands. Since I do a lot of animal art, I end up getting away with not making hands specifically, which can be considered a bit of a cheat, but hopefully you guys can forgive me on that. I end up using paws, and paws are just so much easier to draw. You don't have to think about, I mean, you do have to think about the structure of the hand and understanding, you know, whether or not it's going to be upright, to the side, whatever's going on else in there, but yeah, I can kind of get away with a lot. I can, if I'm feeling in the mood, I'll draw a hand, but if I'm not feeling in the mood, all I do is take the space, so the fingers, so make your hand into a mitten, and she's kind of holding this doll by some sort of cord, belt, whatever it is. She kind of has this kind of fist. And what happens is that when you see a cat or a dog do that, they have these like little paws. So they end up it kind of just looks up clubby, but when you line it, you can kind of see that you can kind of get away with that. Somehow it looks like she's hanging in the doll. I'm not a fan. I don't know why my brain is just not enjoying this doll scenario. Anyhow, that's not the reason why we're here. The reason why we're here is so that we can decide what we want to do. So I'm sketching with the red. I hope it shows up on camera, genuinely. I think it probably shows up better than the gray, to be honest. Just saying. And I guess even if you end up realizing that you know, you made a mistake and that you're not actually into what you're drawing and you erase and there's remnants of the red actually comes off as a really nice remnant. I don't know why. I just enjoy the remnants of the red much better than I did for other ones. Okay, so I guess I'm drawing and I'm not really telling you guys what I'm doing. Shame on me. What I'm doing is that I'm basically taking into account the folds of the shoulder. So if you can see, she has a bit of a, kind of near her neck. She has this point where the fabric is flat against her shoulder, and then we have a point where it kind of poofs up, right? This is her poof sleeve, okay? It's a bit subtle, and then on the outside there's a big poof and then a crease. And then we have kind of these, maybe you can see from my big red mouse, I like making it red so we can see things. Which is that you have a bunch of folds here, like light creases and then deep creases. So this is a deep crease. We have a deep crease coming here, and then we have kind of several smaller creases, and then the kind of this gold shiny fabric, and then we also have this under, I genuinely can't tell if it's, I believe it's a rope, kind of like the rope fabric coming in. I'm not sure. Let me zoom in. I have no idea what's going on. Oh, good. That's the inner garment. So this is the outer. Okay. We're good, guys. Okay, this is what I wanted. Okay. I wonder if I can make this bigger. Okay. I'm making the reference image a little bit bigger. I hope you guys don't mind. Just genuinely, I know that it's cutting off some parts, so I don't want it to be too annoying. I'm gonna just zoom in a little down, and then, okay. I feel like this is the best we're gonna be doing, so I'll zoom in and out accordingly, but we'll just kind of focus on what we got from the torso up, which is basically from this area upwards. We're going to work on the shape. We're going to work on all the smaller things. I do have photos of this, a photo of this on my Patreon. So if you're interested and you end up deciding that you wish to follow along, that is something that I do. I usually have my patrons have exclusive kind of access, and then later on I end up publishing my live, so this isn't like, you know, a live that I went on recently. Okay, so did the belt is a bit thicker, that's okay. There's a lot of darker fabrics. Her hair is kind of coming over. We also have this, like, the other sleeve doesn't necessarily match in the poof quality, so I'm a little bummed. The left one is way more poofier, way more extravagant. This one has definitely done its weight training, but this one, not so much, not poofy at all. So I'm a little bummed out, but that's okay. It's because her sleeve comes down, and so this part might be a little bit tricky. If we pay attention to the shape of the garment instead of where all the lines go, you'll have a much easier time. And what I mean by that is, if you think about it, this outer part of the sleeve kind of comes up in a very, basically it's two triangles. So we have a triangle right here. So you have a triangle, like, I'm gonna pull a line down, okay? We have a triangle right here. And then we also end up having a triangle from this corner to this corner. And then we realize that this shape, if we just think of the spaces, it's just so much easier to think about the placement of everything. So then your hand doesn't go too far off, because I did make it really far off, right? I kind of pulled it over here. Not really necessary. It's just much easier on you. Take shortcuts. And if anyone calls it cheating, don't pay attention to them. You take shortcuts with what you do. It's just the smarter way. As they always like to say, it's like work smarter, not harder. And take your time to enjoy all the things that you are interested in. So that's all I gotta say. I've been recently doing something that I've noticed that people say it's like a lot of mental energy and effort and it's a form of practice, but it's basically doing a lot of gesture drawings. And I never really used to like the idea of gesture drawings. I'm going to be completely real. I thought they were just such a pain, but I've been recently doing them, and it takes a lot of the anxiety and worry about what you're going to draw and what you're going to be doing out. It's basically like really quick because it's 2 minutes for a pose, and it kind of gains confidence because then you're doing similar. The human body can only move so many different ways. Maybe probably not in JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Maybe not. There's infinite poses, but the normal everyday poses of just like sitting and standing can be done over and over again. And if you kind of do them often enough, especially with gesture drawings, it just kind of makes it just easier. I don't know. I hope I'm not rambling too much. I'm just kind of discovering how gesture drawing has been really helpful for me. So I forgot the inner garment. So I think I'm understanding that I'm a little too, let's move this angle. Let's move this angle out, and then let's move this so that it's kind of leaning, and then we'll change the lean. So some of the angle of the garment here is just not working in my favor. And then of course, I forgot there was that inner fabric line, outer fabric line, and the rope came out, and then the rope came out here. So something that I talked about earlier, was the kind of how to make rope, and all you do is you just kind of make a bunch of little C's, and then you just kind of connect them. So then you have rope. And I think probably the angle that I'm placing everything at is a little too... Gotta pay attention to angles. That's why I'm looking at my thing and I'm like, does this make sense? Because when you look at her waist, it's kind of a bit of a moo-moo. So her waist kind of comes down to here. It extends down, but there's a lot of kind of fabric. So it does disappear. Like the fabric does disappear. And then there's folds that are just not really, it's not very visible because the fabric is so dark. As well as the photo. The photo is also a bit dark, but that'll be a nice way for us to sort of just do the garment in one color, in the deep red color, and then the rest of the details we can come through. So this will be just nice contrast because this golden part will be light, and I'll probably use some buttercream color. This is the, not buttercream, buttercup. This is the buttercup yellow that I think I'll end up using because it's just a nice muted yellow. And I think eggshell would probably work too. No, yes. Eggshell's right here. And then we'll be probably choosing a different red from my entire container of markers. So I think we've done a lot of the basic, like where everything goes. I think I'm just gonna go for the, all the details now. Sounds good? All right, great. I'm glad we're on the same page. Okay. So there's a shape comes down. We have another shape. And so this inner garment is not patterned. So underneath the sleeve is not patterned. As I can see, there's a bit of a liner that is not patterned at all. And that's okay. It's just something to think about because you don't have to pattern this entire thing. What is the pattern here? kind of like an upside down heart. Why don't we do that? Since it's in red, maybe we can do this like Queen of Hearts style. Okay, so I'm just gonna do that. I'm just gonna do a bunch of upside down hearts so that we end up saving time. And they're all gonna be basically the same color, so it won't be too bad. The shape is an upside down. It's not an upside down heart. It's a bit of a filigree, but I'm not terribly interested in doing the entire pattern. That would probably take me most of the time here. And as much as I love details, doing all of them this way is just easier, less of a pain, less annoying. And also you get to save your own time. You can do some sort of different kind of reference and be like, oh, look, see? So, yeah. Pattern's not bad, it's upside down. Ah! Sorry, I don't know what that was a tongue twister. So I'll tell you guys a story while I'm busy drawing these upside down butts. When I was in college, I had a roommate, and a housemate actually. So I remember moving into this kind of place a little bit off campus, and my housemate, she was nice, but when we were thinking about what to put the curtains up and what kind of curtains we wanted, she was like, oh yeah, you can buy curtains for our bathroom that we share, but just don't get the cutesy ones. And I thought, what does she mean by that? She was like, I don't like hearts. I don't like heart designs. I just think they're like not cute. And you know me. If you know me, you know that saying no about something like that just makes me want it even more, because it wasn't a good reason. It was just like, oh, I don't like it. Oops. I didn't get it because I respected her. But my brain was like, oh, but why? Like, what? Is it that triggering for you? So, anyways, I didn't get it. I got something like very neutral, very like blue, very much in William and Sonoma. But I don't know. I don't know why. I just really wanted to get that heart one. And then at my next apartment, I did. Forgive me for things that I want to do and are moved to doing. Okay, so I think probably I'll make this a little bit more enjoyable. I guess it doesn't really have a face. It's just kind of like a little doll that has a similar dress shape. I'm just tempted to turn it into a purse because this drawing of her and the doll just is making me irritated. I'm just gonna turn it into a purse. This looks very morbid and I just want something nice. Okay, we're turning you into purse. So we're gonna do the peasant bag purse that you often see, which is that the top has a bit of a kind of the fabric coils up, right? Because it's being drawn by a drawstring. And then the bottom has a bit of a patch. So often it'll have like these. This is just a really simple bag shape, but the bag will often have, you know, interesting things to it. I'm kind of really simplifying it. And so basically she has a bag, sack. Maybe it has money in it, maybe it doesn't. Perfect. And it covered the entire doll. So we're working with what we got. Okay, and then the sleeves are also in the hearts, so we're just gonna do that. And the other sleeve is in the heart as well. As well as the tunic. This part. Okay. And there you have it. We have some red. And I think what we should basically do is we should just jump into sketching the little kitty, the little guy. Okay. So we have such an amazing face. We have such amazing fur. So maybe we should just go for it. Okay. So she's looking to the side, and our cat can kind of look to the side, but I think with the reference photo I'm using, it's a little different. So I'm just going to kind of place the ears where I think they're going to be, and maybe some like facial outside, and then we'll just kind of erase the middle. So I'm going to move the thing down. Okay. All right. So we have fluff. So no neck, just fluff. We do have face, but face is mostly eyes, and then two like outer whiskers on each side. Not a bad look. Very enjoyable, very fun. I think probably it would be very fun to make the I have to figure it out. So I think, okay. So let's see, because I kind of want to make the ears a bit bigger, possibly. So I'm gonna extend the collar out here and then move the space to be bigger. So I'm kind of making an even bigger circle. But I do like the head tilt. So we're just gonna go with the head tilt. We're gonna make a bunch of little kind of like side hairs out here. And then we're gonna have an ear. We're gonna focus on the shape of the head, and we're gonna have another ear right over here. There we go. It's better than having the smaller head. The smaller head made it seem a little bit too, and because the ears are coming down, the top of the head is shown a little bit, not that much. And we have a nose, I think. Okay, so I'm placing the line of action about, or not the line of action, the face. So the eyes will be about here, and then the nose. So we're just gonna try to figure that out. Okay. So the kind of making faces on top of bodies is a little difficult sometimes, but I think we'll make it. I think we'll do it. I think we'll be successful. And I just had to sharpen. There we go. Oh! Don't you hate that when you sharpen something and then immediately it just... Is this ASMR? When you're sharpening a pencil? Okay. Hopefully, please don't break. Thank you. Much appreciated. And we have the eyes. So the eyes are very round. Very round. And they're right in the middle. So hopefully I'll do this correctly. Then I have the inner corner. There we go. We have our eyes, which are pretty big, but our little guy has a... And then the entire face will be pretty dark, so I'm just gonna go for it. And probably the fur is just gonna be dark as well. And to be completely honest, this is a pretty good contrast for if you think about it. So her dress is dark, her sleeves are light, and then she'll be a dark cat. So it'll probably be really interesting. I hope that maybe we can use a different type of, maybe a different type of outfit, maybe? Maybe a different type of color. Maybe not as dark of a red. We'll see. But so far we've done the cat, and she's in this dark color, but I am personally kind of enjoying this. Is a bit funny for me, I think. What do you think? Oh my god, the cat. Oh, whoops. Oh, you still see her. Yeah, she's just... Why is she so cute? Okay. So I think now is the time to do some line work, and then we will get to doing some more of everything. Okay. So I'm gonna make this smaller so we can see her, and then zoom in on her, and then zoom in on her one more time. Perfect. Now we're just gonna do the line work. And I'm gonna do the line work with my Pigma Micron, and this is in Sepia, but Sepia is such a dark brown that I feel like it'll end up looking black on camera. I'm not entirely sure. Let me double check. Make sure it's all focused. Okay. And let's go for it. Are you guys familiar with the, there's a particular artist who does paintings, I believe they're oil paintings, and her main character is this tiny little kitty by the name of Kevin. And Kevin has, you know, captivated many hearts as a tiny, small kitty, but she'll do like a classical type painting with like a piece of furniture or something in the view, and then she'll like draw this tiny little black cat with like these big eyes peering out from under his fur. It's quite cute. I like it. So yeah, I hope you guys like this one. Sorry, my brain is like, hey girl, focus. I'm focusing. Okay, cool. We've done, and then we've also done the outside and the inside. Perfect. And we have our sleeve that we have going on. Honestly, I'm really enjoying this red. I definitely will use it. If you're interested in using Kohl Erase, I think because it's definitely erasable, you can substitute it for sketching or doing gestural drawings, which I found super helpful recently. Genuine note, not sponsored. Who would sponsor me? But yeah, I just like it. So I'm just kind of following the lines, hoping that everything looks good, and then sometimes I'll do these like little tiny lines that go, and these are hatching. This is hatching that I do. I do it often because with Copic and with Copic markers, Copic, whatever is said nowadays, I feel like I never know how to say it correctly. With Copic markers, it's often hard to shade a lot. If you shade a lot, you sometimes ruin the paper. And when you ruin the paper, you end up with this kind of, it looks like the paper's peeling, but it's not. It's giving like a bit of like a mottled look. It's not as clean of a look, and it looks a bit streaky. So I recommend that if you are, you know, of the Copic marker inclination, to be wary of that if you're kind of interested in using Copic markers or even buying a set of your own. I don't really recommend buying a set as someone who's been using Copic markers and different alcohol markers for a while. For Copic markers, they're so expensive that it's just better if you wanted to get some sort of several colors. You could get some blues, maybe like 3 blues. So it's better to get a set of 3 if you're really interested in using Copic markers. But I really don't recommend buying the full set, especially if you don't know what you're doing. There's a company I really do recommend buying a set from, but it's only because they're so reasonably priced. And when I mean reasonably priced, I don't mean that they're incredibly cheap. I do mean that for the price of something that would go on the market for that, it's a nice price point. And those are Ohuhu markers. And I get that question a lot. It's like, what markers do you use? And I use a mixture of both. And that's because with Ohuhu markers, if you're getting a set, you get a lot of really bright colors. And when you get a lot of really bright colors, you end up not being able to have great contrast. So it's just a lot of really bright and saturated like greens and reds and oranges, and then you're wondering, how am I supposed to use all of these bright colors at once? If you have a certain style, if you don't want to blend, if you just want to keep things flat, using bright colors can be really awesome, and it just might be your thing, and you don't need any pale colors or desaturated ones. But the desaturated colors really matter. So just as like a recommendation, I guess, if you want the full set of markers, you want all the markers, and you want to figure out, well, what should I do? I want all the colors I want to know. You should get 2 sets of the Ohuhu ones, which is the pale set and then the regular set. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's because the regular set doesn't have all of the pale set doesn't have the saturated colors, and then the saturated colors don't have the pale set. So it's difficult to make highlights or even try to figure out how that would even work. Take it from me, I've tried many times to figure that out, and I've just ended up kind of substituting a lot of the desaturated ones with Copic markers, because Copic markers has a lot of desaturated tones. If this sounds terribly uninteresting or difficult to understand, please let me know, and I would love to explain to you what I mean by everything of saturated and desaturated tones and, you know, all that jazz. So all we're doing at this point is just doing some hatchworking and some line work and getting the pattern set. I did an upside down heart, mostly because between you and me, I don't think it would be incredibly interesting to watch me do all of the little intricate details in the reference. Even now, I think it's probably incredibly boring to watch me put all of these upside down hearts in. Forgive me. Yeah, so that's something, I think. Let's see. Oh my goodness, very nice. Very enjoyable. So I didn't connect the entire eye, which is something that I used to do, which was so not useful. Which is you'd make the whole eye shape and then you would just color. So what I did is that I did the top lid in one, separated, so I didn't connect this bottom, this kind of edge, the wing of the eye. Then I did a line at the bottom. And then there's like a little line here. So not the entire kind of eye is not connected. There's several gaps actually. So there's a gap kind of out here on the corner. There's a gap on the inner corner. There's a gap on the outer corner, and there's a gap on the inner top corner. I hope that makes sense. So that kind of makes for a better eye. I used to connect them and it was just not helpful and not pretty. So I just want to warn you guys about that. If you are, interested in drawing cat eyes, it's just more helpful to do it that way. Okay. And I love cats. I think I did Napoleon cat, last time. And Napoleon Cat is amazing. Napoleon Cat is truly changing the world and saving lives. But I'm kidding. But yeah, I did it last time and I really enjoyed the idea of putting cats in like sort of classical clothing. I'm a big sucker for fantasy. That's pretty obvious by my content and the things that I like to put out there. I genuinely have always loved the idea of kind of just making fantasy, but sort of like real life fantasy, but with animals. I wrote an apocalyptic fantasy novel a while ago. I'm in my head. I have it all kind of thought out, but I never wrote it down. And it was just before the pandemic hit, so now it just kind of feels a little bit rude to talk about the apocalypse of some sort, especially when everything seems so strange. But yeah, so well, I don't know what I was talking about. I'm sorry. So I've done the pattern for them. A lot of the line work and the kind of, these are just like extra little tidbits that I've put in. I'm definitely gonna put in these areas. There's like a bunch of little pleats here and there that I just need to, excuse me, sorry, that I just need to add, as well as, yeah, so there's a space here where it doesn't fully connect to the dress. So I just needed to add that little pleat. This one's not entirely accurate, but it's okay. We'll fill in this part with a darker color. Maybe a medium yellow, possibly. And now it's time for the sleeve. Oh, the sleeve. Okay. So yeah, we didn't do hands today because I realized that I could get away with it. We can definitely do hands. If you guys are interested, we can do some sort of hand practice. I'm not terribly bad with hands. I'm definitely doing a little bit of a cop out and just using like kind of paws to do the work for me. I hope you guys don't mind that. And we're almost there with all of the patterns. The sound of markers squeaking is so grating to some people's ears. So I don't know, there was one time where someone was like, oh, the sound of the markers was so peaceful. And I think that's probably just like a different, maybe genre of ASMR, just kind of art ASMR doing things. So that was interesting. Okay, I feel like I did all of that down below, so it's kind of extended down. Well then, that's on me. Okay, so I think for this one, I can just erase. So let me double check. Let me do all of the extra lines, make sure all of the line work is pretty solid, and then we will erase all of this red stuff and go to choosing colors. So the colors that I think I'm going to be doing before I end up doing all of this is for the gold part, I'm using this buttercup yellow and this eggshell for the light parts. And then I'm thinking for the dark red, had to pull out the Ohuhu set. If you don't know, this is what it looks like. It's just a big bag. This is the 100 set because I wanted all the colors, I guess. And what we can do is that we can use a darker red. So I'm anticipating maybe either an R8 or an R7. Yeah. So these are two darker reds. An R8 or an R7 would work. And possibly an R1 for lighting. Maybe the lighter parts, we could blend that out. Okay, and then the deeper orange can have this orange. That'll be the deeper yellow of the gold. And then we're going to be using gray. And neutral gray, cool gray. These are warm, aren't they? Gold, red. We should use a warm gray since we're using warmer colors. So I'm going to pull the RW Gray 4. So this is the medium warm gray, and this is going to be for the cat's face. So this will be the lighter parts of the cat's face, and then we will blend it in with the warm gray 9. I didn't organize these, so that's why I'm kind of pausing and being like, where is she? Okay, warm gray here. And then for the sake of just trying our best, I'm going to grab the gray. So there's a gray 9. Did I leave it over here? Yes, cool gray. So this is the cool gray. This is the darkest one. So this kind of is on the precipice of being black. And we'll use that. That hopefully will be very helpful for us. So I kind of have all my colors out, if you can see. From black to red, hopefully. So we'll be using yellow, red, and black, or gray. So hopefully this works. I just wanted to show you guys the colors. I quickly picked them out. I have every Ohu set. I'm not an advertiser. I just genuinely, people ask me about my markers, so I have to tell them. Every marker pack comes with the all of the colors, and these are kind of digital renditions of them. You can always swatch them out, and that's perfect. But I find that if I'm really in a pinch, I can just open this and go through whichever colors are on there. So yeah, and I also recommend that if you were to swatch all of them, to swatch them on a piece of paper and then scan that paper and then print it out. And the reason I'm saying this is because Copic markers over time under sunlight do fade. Alcohol-based markers do. So the color will change if it's in contact with sunlight. So printing it out, printing out the scan, is then keeping the color the same for God knows how long. That's the only reason why. You don't have to. I don't do it for every single one, only for the colors that I use the most often. I do scan them. So yes, let's get on to it. Sorry. Rambling again. Okay. So, right now, I'm going to grab my markers and I'm going to put them to the side, and we're just going to finish up the kind of edge lining, doing some hatchworking in the areas that I think are darker, and these colors will be put on the back burner for now. Okay. Because we're just going to study, try to figure out, I don't want to leave anything that can be colored. That's all. Or I don't want to leave anything that could be lined. She does kind of look creepy, but I think she's just really interested. She's just got a curiosity for life. She only wants to, you know, eat some snacks and decide what kind of mayhem. What I would imagine her to be is one of those characters that it just looks mean on the outside, but is actually just a big softie. So I have a big affinity towards those characters for sure. So here we have it. I think this is the underside. There we go. Getting the feeling that it looks pretty darn accurate. I can definitely color these parts. I think now we can get on to swatching and then potentially coloring. So now it's time to erase. Hopefully we've done an okay job with everything. I hate erasing, mainly for this reason. Okay, we're good. It honestly doesn't look too bad. I erased it. I'm always scared when I erase because for sketching, I've noticed that a lot of people say, hey, when I sketch, it looks great, but then when I erase all of the sketch work, it's just garbage. And to that I say, it's because when you sketch, you have line weight. And the lines on the inside and the outside and the special areas are all darker and it has depth to it. When you erase all of that sketch work, you lose that depth. So you try as you might to instill that with some line work, which is why I often use hatching to figure out what I'm doing here. But if that's not the case, you can just put in all of your color into it, and you can take a picture of your sketch, and then when you're coloring, you can look back at your sketch and see which areas have more weight to them and which don't, and then you can also go in and thicken the areas that look darker too with your liner. You just have to be smooth about it so that it doesn't look too rough. Okay, so let me, sorry, there was just a lot of dust, pencil dust on my desk. Okay, so let me make sure I'm focused here. Perfect. And let's just swatch. So we have our, I'll just swatch here. We have our lightest gray. We have our dark gray. It looks black. It's not black. And then we have our darkest dark. So that's dark. And I think we can probably have an in-between warm gray color. So I'm going to pull W3. Is this helpful? No, that's W4. I have to check if there's an in-between shade. No, it's just W4 and W9. Okay, so it goes from this to this. Interesting. It's a little bit light. Well, she's not very light either. She's a very dark kitty, so I think it'll be okay. Okay, so those will be the shades of her face. We have our, this is going to be our gold. This is going to be our eggshell. Very light, very nice. We can blend that in quite well. And then this will be the darker tone on the inside. I think it'll be okay. To compare it, I do have another color. But this seems lighter. So I think I like this one better. Okay. So now it's time for the reds. So this one is the lightest. It's a bit of a pink, kind of a coral. For the lighter areas, we can smooth them out. This is the red. This is the red. Amazing. Okay. And then this is the R7. This is the darkest red. So this should be fine for all of the darker areas. We have our 3. These are quite, how do you say this? These are quite intense colors, but not to worry. We will color them in time. So I think none of the light parts of the dress are going to be in that pink. So I think me choosing the lightest pink just didn't make any sense. So I'm going to go in with the red and just color in the red on her outfit, and then we'll see how that looks, and then see where we need to do the darkness. Okay. And what I love about these markers is that they have this brush tip, which is just such a dream to get in those like little bitty corners. And now looking on camera, this is a blood red. Okay. Does it need to be this red? No, but we're here. Wow, it's really blood red. Maybe I chose the wrong one. I guess I can always shade it. Okay. Which means that the lightest parts will be the front of the bodice, so about here. So where her body is, those will be the lightest parts. So I think I'll keep that red there. And then for the rest of it, I think I'll just use the dark red. So I'm still gonna color this part in, which is the front part of the dress, in this red, which is quite a lovely red. Such a big fan. And it's bright. You know, my favorite color is red. It's just my favorite. It's just such a classic color. Like in Lunar New Year, you know, people wear red. In different holidays, people wear red. It's just kind of like a very awesome color. Okay, I think I'm just gonna color the entire thing. And yeah, these are all the parts that are darker. So that's basically where the darkness is. All of the red parts are there. I can definitely make the bag red too. That would be nice and interesting, so I'll just do that. I'll just make the bag red since we're there. Kind of looks a bit scary, so maybe I wish I could have used the brown now that I'm looking at it, if it's too much red. But we're kind of working with colors, trying to figure things out, so. And it's not digital, so I can't go back. I wish I could. I wish there was a button on the paper which would say, hey, go back, go back. Okay, so this is the old red that I'm going to be using. And the old red will go in the deeper part. So not on her bodice, but like over here. I hope that makes sense. So her bodice is going to be the lighter part. There's also a darker part over here, which is next to her bodice. And that is a darker shade. We can definitely decide to pull the darker shades kind of underneath and behind a lot of the folds. Probably I'm using the darker one, the darker shade. And I think it doesn't look too bad with everything going on. And I'm gonna just shade the bag too, so that you can see that the light is coming from the left-hand side and that the bag is colored. I don't know if there's any other space. I guess on the outside of the dress too. We get some red, but majority, we can do it on the underneath the belt too. That's something. And on the side of the belt, we can use the darker red to show shadow. So there you go. All right, so now that we have the red, I think we're gonna go for the gray on the face. Actually, I take that back. We're gonna use, we're gonna do the dress. We're gonna do the dress. Okay. And I think with eggshell, we can basically make the lightest parts the eggshell color. So I'm gonna go in and color this part. The lightest part of the dress is eggshell. It's not actually a white, especially in the reference. It doesn't show up to be white either. So hopefully this makes sense. Just kind of taking the top parts. So there's like parts on the sleeve too as well. Up here, there's this section. I'm digging this light yellow, this pale yellow. And by the way, this is like Copic. This is not an Ohuhu. It didn't come in the Ohuhu set. And that's what I mean by having the pales, having the sort of pale colors is great to contrast with the rich colors. So I think that's why I recommend either going really slow on the Copic kind of goal if you're trying to get all of them, and just pick the ones you really like and just go with a really, you know, all the spectrum of whatever color you want to go to. So like the light, the medium, the dark, and the darker or the in-betweens as well. Okay, so what's gonna happen is now I'm going to just shade. So I'm going to shade out the parts that are not in the light, or parts that I feel like deserve more shadow. I guess she kind of looks like the Queen of Hearts here with all of the coloring I got going on. Yeah, I think she kind of looks like the Queen of Hearts. Huh. Well, that's very interesting. I don't know how to feel, but we're gonna just continue to go for it. So you have the other side. And underneath is darker, on the top it's the lighter. So the lighter eggshell stays. And there we have it. We have a little bit of extension, but it's mostly very light. It's the eggshell. And the darker color can go on the inside. So I think that's what we're going to do with the WR33, which is the melon yellow in the Ohuhu set. And I'm just gonna pull that through the inside. And I'm also going to extend it in the underneath. And also in this section, kind of underneath where this is, with these ones as well. And in this part, which is the inside of the sleeve, we're gonna go there, as well as this part of the sleeve and this part of the sleeve. So there we have it. And I think I'm gonna go over it with a cool gray. Or a warm gray. I think that's the warm gray. Okay, so grabbing a... Actually, a cool gray too makes more sense. Okay. And to make it so that it's not as bright, I'm just going over it with a gray. Because when something's in shadow, it's just more gray than it is saturated. So we're just kind of going for that, so that everything is not too saturated. We don't want to do too much. And the belt is actually brown. I could just pull brown out right now. We don't have to shade it too bad. So I'm just pulling a toast. This is a toast color. And I'm just gonna pull it in. Kind of makes more sense here. And we can use the brown as a shadow for the inside too. That is a cooler color. You can go over it with gray or you can go over it in some sort of brown. It just makes more sense there. And you can just blend the rest of that out. And it should be all right. Okay. And I think the inside is also brown. So I'm gonna go in the inside with a brown where her shirt is. And I think now we can go for her skin tone. So I think that's something that we can do. Yeah, okay. So we're just gonna go over it with much thought to our reference photo. So I'm gonna bring our reference photo up front and look at our kitty cat. All right. And she's mostly very dark. So she is in this warm, I can see there's some brown here. There's some dark, kind of a brownish and black. Okay. So it might work. It might work. We could end up just using brown instead of the warm gray. So at that, I will then grab my new sepia toned Copic marker that I just recently purchased, and that would look amazing. So I think that would be a nice lighter color for us to use, because she's not fully brown, but she does have like little brown highlight parts. So I'm just gonna go ahead and color her in with this, since she will be darker than this tone anyway. And we can fill in the ears because the lightest parts are definitely going to be her ears. And we are almost there. I do have to do her hands. And so there we have her hand. We have her other hand. And it's gonna get darker. So I'm gonna grab the warm gray and I'm just going to fill in the space of her face. So I'm going to first use my black, I think this is black, yeah, and I'm going to fill in her eyes actually. I'm going to fill in her eyes, and I'm going to kind of differentiate the top from the bottom, and then use the warm gray to go over her face with a, yeah, okay. I think I have another in between. So I kind of wanted an in between shade to help me out here. It looks a little scary, but we will figure it out. Okay. Okay. with, let's see if this works, because I'm curious about whether or not I've truly messed up. Let's see, I think it's the inner part of the ear. So the outer part of the ear still holds the dark color. And I just want to blend out everything as much as I can. So it does look very inky, but her eyes are going to be the dark or the yellow. I think the yellow will fit very nicely. There we go. She's just a little spooky. She means no harm. So we're just adding in the yellow really quickly. And then we're going to be adding the highlights as well for sure. So what I'm going to be doing is I think I would extend the gray further out. So the warm gray will be blending it out further, as well as extending it up. Kind of like over the ears. That would be really helpful. Yeah, the tops of the ears definitely need, and then the sides, and then probably down as well. So this is kind of an uncomfortable part, which is using all of the really using black with purpose. I think it really is still scary for me, but I know that I will be lining extra and I'll be working my way to for it looking more decent and understandable. Because I know right now it kind of looks a little freaky and crazy, but it's just me trying to ease in the color. That's all. And I'll be sure to, I think for the last bits, I'll probably just end up using dark. Yeah, I think that just makes more sense. Okay. So I am extending it out again and just blending. What I usually do is I usually put the darkest color down and then I take the lighter color and then I blend them. So it's placement of the dark color, blend out with the lighter color, place the dark color, blend out with the lighter color. And I did that again and again and again and again so that she doesn't look so like oversaturated. I just still want some light parts like her ears, the inside of her ears. The inside of a cat's ears often is, the skin there is pretty thin and transparent. So light comes through, which means that it's not going to be completely dark like their fur is. Even light colored cats have the same thing, so there you have it. All right, so now we can go in with our liner, our black liner, and then just do a bunch of cleanups, do a bunch of more line works, because I did line this with a sepia color, so a sepia liner, just to try it out. I tried out a bunch of things at once. The Cola Race was the big hit, to be completely honest. So we're just gonna go in with our liner, and I'm just gonna go in with confidence. So if there's any, I'm just trying to smooth in any lines that I make. If I make any lines, I just want them to be smooth. I don't care about the thickness. They can be as thick as they want to be if they choose to do so. And there we have it. We have our face and our, we're definitely going to add some highlight and a little bit of a nose highlight. So that'll be something that I'll show you how to do. But for now, we're just going to go in and line the rest of this so that it looks, you know, so that it looks normal, achievable, doable, all that kind of thing. And make the outside much thicker. So that's something that we're going to have to do as we're doing the line work. This is a bit of a boring part, so hope you excuse me. Something that I like to pay attention to is that the line work on the inside is definitely going to be lighter than on the outside. And that's just a general rule I've seen done many times before, so that's why I make my line work more thick on the outside. It's something that I've seen in a lot of artists that I really admire, and it just helps bring all of the aspect of the pieces of the piece together. So for example, Alphonse Mucha, one of my favorite original guys who drew pretty ladies. He was the OG. Actually, that's not true. There were many like him, but he was also one that did that. He had, if you look in a lot of his pieces, he has a really dark outline, or a thick outline, and that can be in sepia as well. It doesn't have to be in black. I just do it in black right now because I want a bunch of contrast. I want everything to look really nice right now, and our character is just has a really dark face, and I just want to highlight that. Normally when you're making a character, a lot of the focus has to be on the face. So the outfit has to kind of draw your eye into the face, or the darker parts, you know, or the bottom of the outfit's not supposed to be as noticeable. It's the face. And I just wanted to do a little bit of a test, I guess, with a kitty who has a darker complexion. I just like a diversity of characters, and I've always found that kind of using a lot of black can be really intimidating as a color. It's difficult to go back from. Once you've placed it down, it's like, all right, guys, we're here. Don't know what to do. So it can be a very intimidating color. I think I had someone from one of my patrons who was like, yeah, I don't know, red or like a dark black is just really difficult. So what I recommend is use a lot of mock-ups. So take like a little post-it note and just draw a bunch of tiny little mock-ups with the colors you can. And you don't have to use a lot of color. You can just use like a swatch of a color. And it's just so easy to do multiple of these color pages, I guess, with the sticky note. So if you use a sticky note, you can kind of think about the overall composition. If you just write it out on the sticky note, it's just kind of easy for me as well to get lost in the details. Getting lost in the details is not fun, because then when you look at your overall page, which has happened to me many times, and I'm like, oh, I messed up. Oh, I messed up. I just realized that doing that made my piece really busy, and that it wasn't good in the outcome. So that's my recommendation, is that try not to make things too busy. Look at the overall composition via a tiny piece of paper. That is oodles helpful, very helpful. It's something that I recommend to everyone to do. And also, if you're coloring and you realize that you just hate everything about your piece, continue. Continue as much as you can without the pressure of, well, this looks awful. Because I feel like if you're working and you're doing drawing, 75% of the time, like when you're 75% of the way, you can see your issues, but that just means that you're not there yet. That just means it needs a little more oomph, a little more something. So definitely recommend to keep going for it. Okay. And I'll probably just be using the regular brown for this bag as well. Let me grab the brown. That is the color Toast. Yes. I guess something that I forgot to mention was that yellow does turn into brown. So any color that you have that's yellow does turn into brown. So if you're ever thinking, how can I create a less saturated version, just lean into the brown. Go for the brown, use the brown. It's just very helpful. And brown in general is good for, I think, digital art as well, especially when you're doing line work that way. Okay, and I think let me try one more time. Okay. We have most of our figure. I would say I do definitely wanna yeah, I used thicker liner here. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. So it's just a big slab of red, and I just wanted to break it up using this. So I'm kind of making this area around her waist darker, thicker with my liner, and then probably in the areas that would pool, I'll make those darker as well, so that it just helps with the line work in general. Okay, I think we're at a point where we can use some highlight, and then possibly if there's anything else left, we can go for it, but other than that, I'm not sure what else we could do. And if there's nothing else, I will end the stream after some of highlighting and extra. So I'm gonna take a drink, and we're gonna take a quick break. So a couple seconds. And on this time, you can tell me how you're doing, how you're feeling, what your thoughts are, you know. Okay, so for our cat, we have to create some highlights. And we're gonna create some highlights with something that I really like, which is my gel pen. Now, I wouldn't say it's the most opaque gel pen, and I wouldn't say it's the best gel pen, but it is the gel pen that I've been using, so keep that in mind. There's many other gel pens like Uniball, which a lot of people have said they like better. Excuse me. So Uniball is often considered better. Jelly Roll is okay. I like using it just because it's there and it's accessible, and because it's not opaque, and it works only well on the dark parts. I still like it. So if I'll make some dark accessory or dark button, I'll put like a highlight on it, or I'll put highlight in the eyes because those are often darker, at least the pupils, which we have going on. And for what I'm about to do next, the highlight also makes sense because I'm gonna do it on the nose. Because the nose is still there, you just can't see the nose. So we're gonna do that. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna use this to do a little dot, and then I'm gonna just do another little dot. Cute, right? 2 dots, better than 1 dot, genuinely. And it's not fully opaque, so you're not gonna get that like a brilliant see all the time. But on a darker color, it works. And you notice the contrast. So yeah, it's massively helpful, and I wouldn't say it's a bad purchase. It's also cheap. So if you're not in the space to purchase anything crazy expensive, which I never say for anyone to purchase anything expensive. That's why I like the Ohuhu's markers, and that's why I go for them all the time. And I'm also doing some highlight on the underside of the eye. And I'm going to be doing a quick highlight over here on the edges of where the light's going to go through on the ears. And then we have whiskers as well. So I'm going to pull the whiskers out from here. And so here too. And because they're light, and we're just going to extend it with the sepia. So I think this is the sepia. Okay. So I've made the line work to here, and I just want to extend the whisker so that it's noticeable. Make sense? So often when something's on something really contrasted, it'll look light. Like, for example, if you have maybe you're of darker skin tone and you go out into the sun a lot in the summer, and maybe you might have arm hair and it's been bleached by the sun. It might be brown, but on top of your arm, it looks blonde. So that's what I'm going for, is that there's like a bit of a light contrast with the hairs. So I'm just going to extend this further, and I'm just going to extend this further. That way, it makes sense. We have our light, and then as it's going out, the contrast differs. Technically the same color, but not really. Don't tell anybody that. And because it's not opaque, it's not a streak of white, which is kind of what I'm going for. Okay, time for the nose. The nose. So what I do is that I just, there you go. And if I really want to dilute it, I just kind of put my finger down so that it doesn't look as white. And then it looks like it's balanced everything out a little bit. It's not too white, because it can't be too white. There's nothing really white on her face. She's quite dark, and then her extremities, where her fur is, can be a bit lighter. And there's little contrast, so it's just like a big block. And that's what I mean by contrast. Contrast is the difference between the light and the dark. And there's little contrast on her face, but those little kind of like the little eye with the gel pen and the corners and the nose and the whiskers just help bring your eye so that it's not just like a block, right? So I think I just need to line kind of the hands a little bit, and I think that we're gonna be done. I hope that you enjoyed this one. I did too. I did quite a bit. If you have any specific questions about art, feel free to comment them down below. If you don't have any references, or not references, if you don't have any questions, if you want to become a patron of mine, which means that you get, live streams as soon as they come out. As I'm doing them, you get to talk to me. I get to talk about my process and what I like to go for, what I do mostly, and kind of my process in learning. And we can definitely in the future. We can do face practices with screen caps, which is taking stills from movies and drawing the faces from them. And this is like amazing practice for facial expressions and understanding body positioning as well with faces. I learned this from someone on TikTok actually, and I've been doing it recently and it's been really helpful. So long story short, we can do all sorts of things. If you have any questions, please let me know. And yeah, today we combined two references. Please extend out. We combined two references. And our two references were a black cat, very cute, and a Renaissance garb outfit. Very nice. And I think it turned out pretty decent. A little kind of cartoony, but that's just how I roll, kind of anime. I do that. I love it. And I hope you liked it too. So yeah, I know I'm supposed to go for 2 hours, but I'm pretty much done. Love you all. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, wash your hands, and drink juice. So yeah, bye. Thank you for joining me.